Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a complete Flutter app building tutorial. Here you will learn how to build an e-commerce app for food delivery, and this app would be both for iOS and Android. And this app would also come with a complete backend. And why build this app? Because you want to master Flutter framework, because you want to master Dart programming language and backend framework, and you also want to get a job. Well, after doing this course, you'll get much better or master Flutter framework and Dart programming language. If you're new to Flutter, or if you're coming from another background or another programming language, or if you are a fresh college graduate, this is the right place for you, because this would be a complete app. And if you're looking for a job, right after finishing this tutorial, you will have something heavy to write on your CV. Here we'll cover some major features. Well, first we'll learn how to show products based on category. Then you will learn how to build shopping carts, place your order, track order. After that, you'll also learn how to build user profile and pages like sign in and sign up pages. And we'll also see how to build user address location from Google Map. And you can also build zone-based order for users. And the whole app would keep track of user authentication. Some other major features will cover Firebase notification, and we'll see how to do payment and payment SDK like PayPal. And then from the backend, you'll also learn how to upload new products and see order details and update order, and as well as you'll also see user profile on the backend. Well, in tutorial part 1, we'll have 12 hours, and in 12 hours, we'll cover a lot of useful ideas. First, we'll start off by building 4 complex UI screens, and for building those screens, we will be using stack and positioned widget as well as different slivers. We'll cover sliver app burst and sliver box to adapter. And one of the complex UI would be animated page view, where we'll see how to scale up, scale down, and animate the position. And right after that, we will learn about our app architecture, which would be very useful further down the road when you are going to build a new app. And here we'll cover API client repository and controllers, and we'll also learn what are they and how to build them, and we'll see their connection with each other. And after learning this concept, we'll see how to load them in the dependencies, and we make sure that our dependencies would be loaded when our app starts. And then we'll go ahead and start working with building models, classes, with the JSON map and a list. And I know that this is a very scary concept for Flutter beginners, so here we'll take it slowly and cover things in detail step by step. And once we are equipped with these ideas, then we'll go ahead and build our first product controller, cart controller, and we'll learn how to process the related data. And throughout this first part, we'll also cover about responsive layout. So that also means that when we run our app on iOS or Android, different devices, they would look exactly the same, but at the same time they will have proportional size. So right after this tutorial part 1, you'll definitely get better at Flutter and Dart programming language. Well, in part 2, we'll have 12 hours, and by 12 hours you will finish 8 complex UI screen, and after this you'll really become a hero in Flutter front-end development. And over here you'll learn how to build complex models, classes, and working with JSON map and list. Another major feature would be working with Google Map and how to interact with Google Map and save user data. And then you'll learn how to build location, user, and auth controllers and how to process the related data. So we'll learn and we'll focus on how to pick up user location based on user tab. And then you'll learn how to keep track of user orders and show the user related notification from Firebase. And you will also learn how to set up PayPal payment using PayPal SDK, and all of them would be also covered in the backend for user management. Another major feature would be zone-based user location and service. So by the end of part 2, you will really master Dart programming language. And in tutorial part 3, we'll have 3 hours, and here we'll take care of some of the platform specific issues like notification for both Android and iOS, and we'll also see how to turn this mobile app into web app. And this is where the Flutter shines, okay? Because Flutter, once you write code in one platform, pretty much you can run it everywhere. So you just need to know how to build a responsive app. And at the end, we'll see how to publish this app in the App Store. Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Well, in this section, we'll take a look how to work with notifications. So we'll work notifications for both iOS and Android, and at the same time, would send notification from the server side. It means using our API. So to be able to work with that, first we need to come to our pubspec.yml file. So let's look for this file, and over here we need to install two plugins because we want to work with them. So go ahead and install them. So Firebase Core and Firebase Messaging. And at the same time, we also have to install Flutter local notifications plugin. So these three plugins would work together to get messages from the Firebase server as well as to show them on our device. Great. After that, let's do pub-get. All right. Well, that's been installed. Next, first thing, actually this time we have to do work with our server side. So on the server side, we need to see how we send messages to the Firebase server from our own server. Okay. Now, well, this thing could sound little intimidating or difficult. Actually, I have made complete tutorials on Firebase messaging and local notifications. Now, if this sounds scary to you, I would suggest go ahead and watch those tutorials because those are the basics. Otherwise, what we are going to do over here, there would be a little mind-blowing for you that what the heck is this, why it's so difficult, something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and watch that. Okay, great. So now first over here we need to come to our order controller.php file, and this file resides inside this API controller API v1 inside this. And previously we have done it that we save order details like that over here, and once that is done, actually we just return a response back to our app. Now in between these two, we are going to add a new one. So what is this? This is called send order notification. So this is a new function that we are going to use. Now over here we are going to send order, the order object that we created. This is the one that we are going to send to it because we need a lot of information that we will be using inside this function, and we'll see what is this function. Now at the same time, we'll have this request users Firebase token, CM Firebase token. Because this has to be done through middleware and authentication, so our user would already be there. So we use the request object to get the current user information, and for that certain user we get our Firebase token. Now how to work with this Firebase token? Actually in our database we have this Firebase token column. So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is our backend, and over here we have this Firebase column over here, as you can see. Now this is coming from this user section. Now you can click on this column and you'll see that I have added this one right after status. So you just go ahead and add this one and take care of this property where it says type virtual 225 55. It doesn't really matter though, it's better 255. So go ahead and create this. Okay, you can put it anywhere in the order, it doesn't really matter, it would still work. Okay, and if we work like that, and after that you'll see it shows up over here, and of course at first that would be empty. Okay, now when the user logs in, would get device token, and based on that we'll get Firebase token and we'll save it in our database over here. Okay, so device token is actually this Firebase token for each user. Once again, if this doesn't make sense, please check out the other basic tutorials from the link below, and it should make sense. And I strongly suggest to watch those tutorials because they're really good for building your basics, because if you don't understand, just follow along here with me, you'll get completely lost. Anyway, so this is here we have this Firebase device token column. Go ahead and create it. So, well, if the user is logged in, we would automatically save the token to database, and then as we request our order, place an order, we would be able to grab the token and send a notification. Does it make sense? Because this is the function which is called place order. This gets called when we place an order to the server. So it gets called during the placing order, actually pretty much after order has been placed, because over here the order has been placed. And then we go ahead and grab the token and post the order, post a message to the Firebase server. Now let's take a look at this helper function. Now the helper function resides inside this helpers file. So here is our send order notification, and as we saw, it takes two objects. One is order and a token. From order we get order status, the current status of this order, and then based on that we get a value. So we call another function that's called order status order update message, this one. And if we have the value, if it's not null, if it is value, if it's not 0, or if it is not false, or if it is not minus, then we fall into this condition actually. So this is the overall condition, as you can see, this block, conditional block. And then we create a new array, and the array takes the title. Actually, this is the title that would be sent to notification, and then we have this description. Once again, it's coming from here, order ID, image, and type. Of course, image and type are not very necessary. If you want, even you can skip that, but these three would be very important. And then we call another function, send push notification to device. This is the actual function that sends notification to our device. Okay. And after that, we try user information over here. Well, not really user information to us for a certain user that we send notification to. We save it in a database table, which is called user notifications. So all of our notifications would be saved in server side. Okay, I mean, related information to this notification, they all would be saved in server side. Okay, now this is inside this try clause. If we have any error, we actually catch them. Okay, otherwise we just return true over here and we are good to go. All right, and now we need to take a look, what is this function, order status update. So over here we grab the status of our order. And what is this? So if you remember from our earlier experience, so each time we create an order, so over here we are, so we'll have an order status section. Okay, so whether order has been accepted, success, confirmed, or pending. So this is the reason why we check it before we send a notification. So yeah, now we'll take a look at this function. Let's see what it does. This function we will take a look later. So this is the function actually we are talking about. So order status update function. Okay, here's some if else condition, and that's pretty much it. So this is the function. Okay, so if the status is pending, you get some information from business settings based on that. If the status is confirmed, you get other information. If it's processing, you get related information from the database, just like this. So it checks one by one what's the current status. Based on that, you get message from the database. Okay, so it's just a bunch of else if condition over here. And then there is of course one fallback. If none of this works, then we fall back to this one, and after that we just simply return. Okay, so this is the whole function. Yeah. Okay, all right, hopefully it makes sense. So this is just getting some text information from our database. Now if it doesn't make sense, now over here the business settings table, let's take a look. So we'll have a table over here which is called business settings. Now inside business settings you have this columns over here like order pending, order confirmation, order processing, order delivered, order delivery boy assigned, things like that. Okay, now each of them has a JSON format. Like if you click any of them, you'll see that over here we have this key which is order pending message, and this is over here our JSON format that we save in the database. Now if you click the other one, let's go ahead and check this. So this is the key. For the key we have value. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. All right, now over here I think this is wrong. It should be 1, not 68. Okay, now to get a better look at this, over here you can click on this section where it says column, and as you see, this is what we have over here, ID key value. So keys are this one over here. Actually these are the keys. Okay, for each of the keys you want to have certain text that the user would view after getting notification, and those value is saved in this field where it says value columns. Okay, so it has inside, it has actually two fields, status and a message. All right, so yeah, it makes sense. So these are the few new keys in the row that I have added. Go ahead and click on them, create them if you don't have, and do remember they're all same. Now inside this you have two sections, status and messages. They are in JSON format. Okay, anyway, so this is the function that reads for a value and return. Okay, all right, now so this is the function that we took a look. So it tries to find a related text value. All right, and that is the value that we save as in the description. Hopefully it makes sense now. So it would be, for example, eventually this value. Okay, eventually this value would be put over here. So that means that in database table you can change your message as you want. Okay, and dynamically, because you can always access database even after your app is up and running, so you can change them. And then over here we have this send push notification to device. Let's take a look, and this is the function, send a notification to device, and this is actually pretty simple over here. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now over here the first part is here, as you see, we have three information: FMC token, data, and delivery. The delivery, the default value is 0. Okay, now from here actually we send FMC token, this one, which is this one, and the data is this data. Now what is this data? This data, the array that we created. Okay, so we send down to it. Now we just do a conditional check and we create a new value. If delivery is 1, then we fall back to this condition. Otherwise we fall back to this condition. But in default, as we are calling from here, we don't pass any delivery value to this, so the default value is 0. So in that case we fall back to this condition. Okay, now what does this does? What does this do? Actually it gets push notification key, server key. Okay, now what is server key? So I have server key over here, this one. Okay, Now, this is inside this cloud messaging section. So if you have app project settings, or from here you could select any of your app, it doesn't matter. Now in my case, let's select Android, which is easy to use for now, and then over here, and then you get the server key, yeah, and you work with this. Okay, you copy this one, and after copying, actually what we did over here, we put it in our business settings table because we want to be dynamic. So over here I put the key. So as you can see, push notification key, and this is the one that I copied and put it over here. Okay, yeah, so if you don't have this row, go ahead and create this row and write exactly like this and put the value like this. Okay, just go ahead and copy that. Once again, it would look like this. Okay, put over here, you're good to go. Now what's happening in the code section? Let's go ahead and take a look. So yeah, if we have this key, so we take it and put it over here. Okay, so for you don't need to worry about this one, you can just skip that, but if you want, you can also write a condition like this. Okay, all right, so default value of key is 0 if we can't find any of this. All right, now once again, this section may look a little scary, so I strongly suggest to have another tutorial. Go ahead and check that. That's the complete guide for Firebase push notification, as well as how it works with local notifications plugin. Okay, now over here we have this URL. So this is the URL that where we want to send message to the Firebase server. Okay, so this is the endpoint, and over here just now we got the content. So from the key we get the content, which means the value. Actually, what value? This is the value actually we'll get. And then we also have to set content type application JSON. So that's our header. So header takes actually authorization key. So over here we have authorization key. You have to write the keyword key, and then we get the actual value from it. Okay, all right, and after that what do? We sent this content type. Okay, and we are going to create a post method. We created a value which is called post data, and this is the FMC token. Okay, so this is the FMC token. Now what is this token? Actually, this is the user token, user device token. Now what is user device token? Once again, go ahead and check my other tutorial. So we get that and we send it assigned to this tool. This is very important. And over here you can just go ahead and write like this, and over here we have this data and a notification. So notification carries the information that you see when you see a notification that arrives, and to be able to click on this notification and go to a new page, use the data section. So which means you need both. Okay, so once again, so this is more like a map or JSON, Dart map, or over here PHP JSON. Now earlier we have seen our data table. So over here, this is our data: title, description, order ID, order type. Well, these things really doesn't matter. You can skip that if you want, but we'll need them in future usage. So I put it there. And after that, what we did over here, well, one thing though, like this section is the same as if you use a Dart code. They're almost similar. Okay, now since we are using our server and PHP, these are the things we definitely need, because our server will now send push notification to, not really push notifications, send all this information, the one we did in our Google server, okay, to Google Firebase console. Okay, now how to send this? Let the server do the auto thing. So these are the options that you need to set up. So we set up our URL, and then I think this is another condition. I'm not sure what it does, but it's necessary. Okay, and it should try a certain time. After that, you just drop the request. If it doesn't work, then this is a post method, and then over here our actual data, and this is the header information we have seen early. and we check the result. If result is false, it means actually it didn't work. Okay, so we do print a message to our browser or console, and then we close this request, the whole request. Okay, whatever happens. But now in this case, if it's wrong, if the message didn't send to Google server, then it would just stop executing over here. If it's successful, we'll stop here and we'll return the result. Okay, now that returned result, well, we are not using it, but in future we may use it. So now this function send push notification, which is this one, notification device, it resides in the same file of helpers.php. So that's why you need to go ahead and do it self. Okay, all right, great. Now we assume that everything went well, so we send user information to our database. Okay, so this is our database. I mean, we'll take a look at our database very soon. This is how you save it. Now if you don't have this database table, you need to go ahead and create it. So let's take a look. So over here we'll have user notification. Let's take a look. Where is this one? So this is the table. Okay, now this server and the database I made long ago, actually, so a lot of the users, they are trying to use this. So that's why you see so much information from certain user. This is the user ID. Anyway, so your column should look like this: ID, name, phone, email, image status, Firebase token. These are the things. Okay, so just go ahead and create them and you're good to go. And as you do that, make sure that ID is auto incremented. And over here, these values are also quite important, how you do that. Okay, so this is our I'm sorry, I think I got the wrong table. It should be this table. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on this. Yeah, okay, ID, data, status, user ID, vendor ID, delivery man ID, created. So these are the information, notification information we save to the database. Actually, we save the data, what data we send to Firebase, and then for what user, if we have any vendor, it's like a restaurant, if we have a delivery man, his ID we also send, because this notification should also go to a delivery man if you want. So that's why these are the fields that have been created. Okay, all right, so go ahead and create them. Make sure the type is pretty much like this, and here the default value you should take care, as well as the ID over here. This ID is quite important. You should make it auto increment. Now if you don't know how to create a table, I have a video which I made previously for this e-commerce, how to create a table in PHP-MyAdmin. You should go ahead and check that out. Okay, all right, so anyway, this should be your table, user notification table, and if you have data saved, it should look like this. Okay, for example, yeah, so here our ID is this, and the user ID is 434. I don't know who that is, because a lot of the people that try my server to work with this, and then we save like order ID, image type. For now it's nothing, and over here again that your order is placed successfully and things like that. Okay, these are saved automatically. Yeah, so that's pretty much about the server side. There isn't much code, but it's not end of the day over here, end of the game. So a lot more things to do, but for now this would help us to achieve our goal. Okay, so make sure you write them like this. So once again, send order notification actually calls two other functions. Okay, and make sure that you have them, you write them and save them in the database. Okay, so other two functions are this one, send push notification to device, and as well as order status update. Now on your database you might not need all this field. You can just have few of them and you are good to go. All right, yes, so with this we're pretty much done with the API section over here in the server side. Now it doesn't have any direct endpoint. Why not? Because it gets called from here. So we have a endpoint for this one, place order. So you do it in one call, so you don't need to worry about this. Hopefully it makes sense. Okay, now we are done with the server side section. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our app over here. Okay, so we have installed this. Okay, and you should be good to go. And after that, we'll come to our main.dart file. Main.dart, this one. Now over here at the top, actually we need to make some changes. Now this is our main function, what it looks like. So right after this dep.init, we have this try close section. And over here, while we do have a bit of code, well, let's print the message if we have any error, which is helpful all the time. Okay, all right, so in production mode, it won't print anything. So what are we doing here? Now over here, we have this background message handler. And then as well as we have initialized this Flutter local notification plugin. All right, yeah. So this is our background handler, notification handler, which is important if you want to get message if your app is on the background. Otherwise, if your app is background, you will not get any notification. And this is the notification plugin, local notification plugin that we have installed the plugin. And this over here, we create an object. Now inside this main function, right before this, we have added this code. And over here, we first check if we are on mobile or not. So this is the condition. If we are in mobile, we try to get all these Firebase messages. Now this is important if your app is once again in the background. Otherwise, it's not important. With this, you get all the messages from Firebase console. Yeah, all right. And then you go ahead and do this initialization. But what is this? Well, we'll see and take a look very quickly. And this is the background message handler, the handler that we created, this one. Okay, just call this one. All right, and over here we don't do anything actually, but if you want, you could do, but this is still important to be able to view background messages. Okay, so go ahead and call this. All right, now we need to take a look at this helper notification.initialize function. Where is this and where is it coming? For now, we don't have this function, so we'll go ahead and create this. And where to create this? Well, we are inside this lib folder, and we have this helper function, right? Helper folder. Now inside this, we'll go ahead and create a new file. We'll call it notification helper.dart. Okay, yes. So over here, we'll create this class. We'll call it notification helper. All right, and we are good to go. And inside this, we'll create an init method. Okay, so we'll do future void, and we'll call it initialize. All right, and as we do that, actually we need to pass this object, this notification object. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab this one from here, and then we'll put it inside this. Okay, and I guess probably we need to import this plugin. Okay, and over here we might need a sync over here. Okay, great. And after that, if you come over here, let's see if we can import it. Helper notification, I think notification helper. So let's just replace this and import it, and you're good to go. All right, and what else we have here instance cannot be accessed using static access. So this would be a static method, and our error should have gone. Okay, great. So we created this object over here, and we sent to this initialize method, which is over here. So here we are inside this initialize method, and here we have few sections. Well, this is what it looks like. Currently the codes are collapsed. Now this is the first section. So over here, what do? We have this Android initialization settings, and we refer to the icon, as well as we have this iOS settings. And with those two settings combining together, we create a new settings, and this is the settings that we pass to this initialize function. Now this is the function actually, and this function is coming from Flutter local notification plugin, this object over here. And inside this we have this try close method, and we check if we have payload or not. Now, what is this payload? And this is the payload that actually we have seen earlier in our server-side code, where we have the data section. So that data is our payload. If you forgot what it is, let me show you. So actually this would be your payload. Okay, all right. Anyway, so if we have payload, we'll go to a new route. We'll see how it works. Otherwise we print error. Okay, now here on select notification is very important. If your app is on the foreground and if you want to tap and go to a new page, this is where on select notification works. Okay, if you don't have this on select notification, and if you tap, you won't be able to go anywhere. And after that, over here we need this one for, I guess, pretty much for iOS. Okay, so go ahead and set this up. Okay, and after this we have this on message. So if the messages are coming from Firebase, we actually need to listen to them. Okay, so this is very important. If you don't have this one, you won't be able to listen to messages. This is more like a background service for your app, so it's always get connected to the Firebase, and if there are new messages, it'll wake up, and then you could do whatever stuff you want to do. It's all up to you. Okay, so for now we are printing our title, body, and title lock key. These are the information. Okay, yeah, and after that you could do more stuff based on the listening. Okay, now here we'll see in future how to work with them. All right, and the next part is this one. So this is quite important. If your app is background or terminated, and if you wanna get messages as well as tap on them, go to a new place or new route, this is where it comes in. So once again, we print some messages. We print the messages over here. It's not important, but just for debugging purpose, as well as we do some checking if we have information. I think we do have a duplication of this. I guess we don't need this. We just with the one we are good to go. All right, so actually over here we'll direct to a new route, the same we have seen this one. We can, not this one actually, over here at the top. So we go to a new route. Anyway, so this is our on message opened, where if your app is terminated and you want to click and go to a new page, this would help you. All right, now this is a part of the settings we did. Now one thing right now is quite important to be able to implement on this one. So as we listen to a message, we want to show the message. Okay, now for showing, actually we need a new function. This is the function which is show notification. Okay, we need to go ahead and create this function and work with this. So let's go ahead and take a look at this function, and we're going to remove this condition where we had this false, the boolean. We don't need that for now. So this is the function that we are talking about over here. Okay, so it takes two of those objects. One is remote message, which is this one, and notification plugin object. And inside this, we create a text information because we want to show it to the user. You can do a little bit of styling, and from the message itself we take the body and content title like that. Okay, and this part is most important. If you don't need, you can skip this one, it's okay. Over here we create Android notification details, otherwise it will get error if you don't create. So you want to play the sound, go ahead and set it to true, and this object, the one we created, big text style information, you have to set it this one over here. Now once again over here, the ID itself could be very random. The channel ID, you can just go with channel ID 1, and then over here I think that should be channel description, channel name actually, so DB food, like that. Okay, it doesn't matter whatever name you use, but do remember that if your notification sound doesn't work, a lot of time you need to go ahead and change this channel ID name, and then it should work. Okay, anyway, so we create that object, notification details object, and we put them to high over here, as well as later on we call this function, and inside this we send the notification. But actually one thing we could do, we could also send it for iOS over here, the iOS, so notification details, this one. So it should work. Let's go ahead and work with this. Okay, so that would go for iOS and Android. Okay, now we are almost ready with this, but we still need to hang in there. And over here we are calling and showing. Okay, all right, so what happens over here, we listen to the messages, the one we get from Firebase, and then we call this method, and this method would actually show this notification. Okay, yeah, it gets called, and you'd see at the top we see the notification. All right, now the one you are following with iOS, you have to do some settings. So to be able to work with iOS over here, to come to this folder and runner and app delegate Swift, over here we need to make some changes. At the top we have to have this one, import this to libraries, and over here you also have to configure Firebase app. Right after this, actually we have to have another method, this one. Okay, now this one is for getting notification device token for iOS, so they work a little bit differently. I think you have to have, otherwise you can't get the notification device token for iOS. So let's go ahead and do this one. So that is a new function that's called application. Of course we are overriding it. Okay, and as you can see, it takes a device token and related data, so we print it over here, we get it and we print it, and then we get ready for receiving notification on the certain device. But now iOS itself, it doesn't work that smoothly on emulator. I mean, it just doesn't work on emulator iOS notification. To be able to work with this, you have to go to my another tutorial. There are a lot of settings for iOS, especially on the Xcode side, and iOS like Firebase console. iOS also have their dashboard. You have to go to iOS app registration dashboard, and over there you have to do a lot of settings. Once again, you need a real device to get notification. So I have covered that tutorial, everything I have covered in that tutorial from the beginning to end, so that should help you. Now with Android, it's relatively easy actually to work with simulator or emulator to get notifications. So check out those two tutorials that I recommend to you. There are a few more things before we go ahead and check our notification on Android device. Now we definitely need to come to this Android folder, and inside this app folder over here, well, you do have to make sure that you have the certain settings that's ready over here. Okay, now over here, actually not this one, I'm talking about this one, so we don't need this. Okay, All right, so we need to make some settings over here to be able to get notification, otherwise it won't work. So right after this, actually we have this channel ID, so you need to go ahead and add that one. Okay, so we'll keep the channel ID name 1, and then our sound, where the sound would be, you can get the default notification sound, the sound, but we are, sorry, this is the icon, the notification icon, as well as this intent filter. Well, this was previously there, so you don't need to add this one, but yes, this is quite important, and this one also. Okay, all right, yeah, so those are the things that you have to be able to work with notification. Otherwise you will get a lot of error. Now how about this one? Okay, this icon, now it should be res, and over here, as you see, we point to this drawable over here, so drawable folder. So we have to have an icon. I don't have one, so I'm going to go ahead and drop one over here. So here, go ahead and put a notification icon. So this is the icon that I'm putting. So it should be any kind of transparent PNG picture. So go ahead and put it there, and that should be your notification icon. Okay, and everything else should work fine for now. Before we go ahead and run our app, you have to make sure that you drag and drop this JSON services, Google JSON services, inside this app folder, otherwise it won't work. So you have to get your Google JSON services from your Firebase backend and put it over here. Okay, otherwise it'll not just work. At the same time, you have to make sure that you have the settings in your build Gradle, otherwise you'll still get error. And Google services, this one, all of this, but in general, it's these few things are there. Most of the time you just need to add this one. So make sure that you have to have you have this one in your build Gradle, which is this one. Okay, let's see. So here it says that you have to go to your dependencies and class path. So dependencies, class path over here, let's add this one. You have to do that, and yeah, so this is from Firebase console settings. So if you didn't do it, go ahead and do that. Okay, and pretty much this would be the last one that you need to add, but this is in app build Gradle. So in this case it should be app this one. Okay, and inside this, I think over here, yeah, so other settings should be there by this time, so these are already here. Let's see. So application and Google services, well, let's see if we have them or not. Application we do have, but we don't have Google services. So we're gonna copy this and put it here as like apply plugin, and just drop it there. But in this case we don't need ID. Okay, we're gonna get it as like this. Okay, and it should work. Now over here, actually we need to do await. So over here we need to do this one. So initialize Firebase. Okay, and then we should be good to go. Well, so far we have done a lot of settings, but how about getting the device token itself from the Firebase? We haven't done anything about that. Okay, so we have to get the device token. Now to be able to get the device token, we need to come to our splash screen over here, this one. Now as we splash up our app, actually over here we can get a device token. So over here we'll call a new method which is called update token. Okay, now that should be based on auth controller, but of course auth controller doesn't have this method. So now we'll go ahead and create a method called update token inside this auth controller. Now right below it at the bottom over here, so here we have this update token method, but since it will talk with the server, we want to put the actual method in auth repo. So let's go to auth repo, and in this file we'll go ahead and create a new method. The method name would be update token. Now this is our actual update token method, and it's missing some of the thing, and we'll see that later it doesn't really matter, and we'll skip that for now. Okay, so what's happening over here is that we create a variable, name is device token, and we check it that it's not web, it's iOS or Android, any of them. Now for iOS, it does need a special setting, so that's why we specifically check if it is iOS or not. So this settings has to be there, and you also have to request the permission. So go ahead and do that. So these are the request permission settings that you need. So alert, announcement, badge, CarPlay, sound, things like that. Okay. And over here, if we have this authorization, we just simply print it. But at the same time, we want to save the device token. So let's go ahead and check on this one. Okay. All right. Now saving this actually works both for iOS and Android. So this condition is if the device is Android, and this is for if the device is iOS, as you can see from the conditional block. Okay. Now anyway, so let's take a look at this method. So this method is down here. Don't worry, we'll take care of that very soon. So it simply gets the request permission, and then over here we get the token. Okay, and if we get it, we save it to a variable which is called device token, and then we return it. Okay, so this is the token that's being saved over here, returned from there, and then we'll go ahead and create this endpoint. And as we do that, we send this device token to our database using this post method. Once again, if this sounds complicated, you should definitely check out my basic tutorials for Firebase messaging and local notification. That would make your life and understanding very easy. So now we are missing out this endpoint. Let's go ahead and create that. Now first we need to come to this app constants file over here, which is this one. Right below it, let's see if we have better place to do it. Looks like no. So here is a token URI for endpoint. We call it token URI, and this is our endpoint. Now let's take a look at the endpoint over here. Now this endpoint inside this customer controller file. Okay, so customer controller, and over here we have this method update Firebase token, but actually it's first pointing from this api.php file, and over here we have this route. Okay, so update Firebase token. So this is the route that we have been calling from our app itself over here, CM Firebase token, which is exactly CM Firebase token, and this is the method that gets called. The method itself is over here inside this customer controller, and as you can see, it's looking for a string Firebase token, and then if we have error, we go through it. If not, then remember earlier we have seen that in our user table we have this column or field CM Firebase token. We just simply go ahead and update it there, and we are good to go. Now back to our app. So yeah, with this, when our app boots up, we should be able to get this token and request it to this certain well, we can save this certain user's device token in the database. Now this during the boot up, and actually in another place you can also call it. So that is called cart controller. So our cart page. Okay, cart page, we have this one. Okay, right before we submit our order, place our order, actually over here, if the user has logged in or not. Okay, before we go ahead and do everything, actually from here we can call this one as well. Make sure that we have this device token. So here we could define auth controller. Okay, and then we do update token. So this will make sure that user is actually logged in and we have this token there. Okay, great. Now, well, with this we're pretty much done with every settings. And now if you go ahead and launch your app, you should be able to send notification. All right, so here is our app, and let's see if we get any notification from here. Let's click on this, try to submit an order. We'll choose digital option. Let's click on this. Yes, we do see that we have this app popped up as a notification, the message. Okay, great, which means that's working. Now after this, we need to work. We click on this and go to a new page. Okay, and this is what which we'll cover in next part. Okay, so if you have any problem, error, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and share. Thank you.